What if I told you that WWE's biggest star has become their biggest problem? Roman Reigns, the man who dominated WWE for over 4 years as the Tribal Chief, is trapped in a character that's slowly suffocating his legacy. While fans debate whether he's the greatest of this generation or the most overexposed, the truth is far more concerning. Roman Reigns has become predictable, and in wrestling, predictability is death. Today, I'm going to break down exactly why WWE needs to completely reboot Roman Reigns. Not just a costume change or a brief face turn, but a total character assassination and rebirth. And by the end of this video, you'll understand why this isn't just beneficial for Roman's career, it's absolutely critical for WWE's future. Let's dive into the psychological prison that Roman Reigns has built around himself. Roman Reigns has been WWE's chosen one for over a decade, evolving from the silent powerhouse of the Shield to the most dominant Universal Champion in recent memory. But here's what WWE doesn't want you to realize: that dominance has become a creative straitjacket. The Tribal Chief character that once felt fresh and intimidating now operates on autopilot, delivering the same "acknowledge me" promos while disappearing for months at a time. The Bloodline saga that captivated audiences has devolved into a convoluted mess where everyone except Roman became the interesting character. Solo Sikoa, the Usos, even Sami Zayn during his honorary Usos run, they all outshine the supposed head of the table. This isn't just my opinion. This is what happens when a character stops growing and starts repeating. In this video, we're going to examine 3 critical areas. First, how Roman's aura of invincibility transformed into boring predictability. Second, why his part-time schedule contradicts everything his character represents. And third, the specific steps WWE must take to completely reinvent Roman Reigns before it's too late. This isn't about minor tweaks. This is about saving one of wrestling's biggest stars from creative quicksand. Here's the brutal truth that WWE refuses to acknowledge. Roman Reigns has become the wrestling equivalent of a luxury car stuck in first gear. Powerful, impressive to look at, but going absolutely nowhere. The Tribal Chief gimmick that felt revolutionary in 2020 has calcified into a series of predictable beats that even casual fans can recite from memory. Think about Roman's last 20 matches. How many surprised you? How many made you genuinely question the outcome? The answer reveals the core problem: invincibility without stakes becomes meaningless theater. When Roman enters a match, we know he's either winning clean, winning with interference, or losing due to some elaborate betrayal that sets up the next storyline. There's no middle ground, no vulnerability, no genuine uncertainty. The original appeal of the Tribal Chief was its psychological complexity. This wasn't just another monster heel. This was a manipulative family patriarch who used emotional warfare as effectively as physical dominance. Roman's partnership with Paul Heyman provided intellectual credibility, while his control over the Usos added layers of family dysfunction that felt authentic and compelling. But WWE made a critical error. They confused complexity with convolution. Instead of deepening Roman's character, they surrounded him with an ever-expanding cast of Bloodline members, each with their own motivations and storylines. Solo Sikoa's silent rebellion, Jimmy Uso's moral struggles, Jey Uso's conflicted loyalty, these became more interesting than Roman himself because they were allowed to change and grow while Roman remained static. The "acknowledge me" catchphrase perfectly encapsulates this stagnation. What started as a powerful demand for respect became a crutch, repeated so often that it lost all impact. Roman's promos became Mad Libs: insert current opponent's name, reference their inadequacy, demand acknowledgement, threaten consequences. The formula worked initially because it was new, but formulas have expiration dates. Even worse, Roman's character began contradicting itself. He claimed to be the head of the table while frequently being absent from WWE programming. He demanded respect while relying on interference to win matches. He positioned himself as the ultimate authority while allowing subordinates to make decisions that affected his storylines. These contradictions didn't create compelling moral ambiguity, they created logical inconsistencies that undermined the character's credibility. The most damaging aspect of this predictability is how it's affected Roman's opponents. When everyone knows Roman will ultimately prevail, his feuds become exercises in delayed gratification rather than genuine competition. Opponents become temporary obstacles rather than legitimate threats. This dynamic has devalued not just Roman's victories but the entire main event scene around him. Wrestling thrives on the possibility of the impossible. When that possibility disappears, so does emotional investment. Roman Reigns has become WWE's most successful failure, dominant in kayfabe but diminishing in cultural impact. The character that was supposed to be WWE's final boss has become their most predictable employee, and that predictability is slowly eroding the foundation of everything he's built. Here's where Roman Reigns' character completely falls apart. You cannot be the ultimate authority figure in WWE while simultaneously being a part-time performer. This isn't just a scheduling issue, it's a fundamental storytelling contradiction that undermines everything the tribal chief represents. Roman's character is built on the premise of absolute control. He's the head of the table, the tribal chief, the man who makes decisions that affect everyone in his orbit. But how can you maintain that authority when you disappear for weeks or months at a time? It's like claiming to be the CEO of a company while only showing up for quarterly meetings. This absence creates a narrative vacuum that WWE struggles to fill. When Roman vanishes, his storylines don't pause, they continue without him, which immediately diminishes his supposed importance. The Bloodline operates independently, his rivals move on to other feuds, and the wrestling world keeps spinning without its supposed center. Each absence proves that Roman isn't as essential as his character claims to be. Compare this to other part-time performers who've maintained their mystique. The Undertaker's sporadic appearances worked because his character was supernatural. He could disappear into the darkness and return when needed. Brock Lesnar's absence made sense because he was positioned as a special attraction, a final boss who only emerged for the biggest fights. But Roman's character demands constant presence to maintain its logic. The practical consequences of this paradox are devastating. Title reigns become stagnant because the champion isn't there to defend or even acknowledge challenges. Feuds lose momentum because one participant keeps disappearing. New storylines can't develop organically because writers must constantly work around Roman's schedule rather than building stories that serve the narrative. Even more problematic is how this affects live audiences. Fans who attend shows expecting to see WWE's supposed top star often leave disappointed. This breeds resentment that extends beyond Roman to WWE itself. When your biggest star is unreliable, it sends a message that the product itself is unreliable. The part-time schedule also prevents Roman from adapting to changing audience reactions. Full-time performers can adjust their characters based on crowd responses, trending topics, or unexpected developments. But Roman's limited appearances mean his character evolves in slow motion, always several steps behind the cultural conversation. This creates a feedback loop of disconnection. Roman becomes less relevant due to his absence, which makes his returns feel less special, which reduces audience investment, which makes his character feel more forced when he does appear. It's a downward spiral disguised as main event booking. The solution isn't simply more appearances, it's acknowledging that Roman's current character cannot function as a part-timer. Either commit to full-time presence or completely reimagine the character to work within the constraints of limited availability. The current approach satisfies neither creative nor practical needs, leaving Roman trapped between two incompatible visions of what his character should be. Here's exactly how WWE can save Roman Reigns. They need to psychologically destroy him before they can rebuild him. This isn't about tweaking his entrance music or changing his ring gear. This is about deconstructing everything the tribal chief represents and forcing Roman to rediscover who he is without the safety net of dominance. The reboot must begin with symbolic destruction. Roman needs to lose everything that defines his current character, Paul Heyman's loyalty, the Bloodline support, his championship gold, and most importantly, his sense of invincibility. But these losses can't feel like typical wrestling betrayals. They need to feel like genuine psychological trauma that forces Roman to question his entire identity. Imagine this scenario. Paul Heyman doesn't just betray Roman for another client. He delivers a devastating promo explaining how he manipulated Roman's insecurities to create the tribal chief character. Heyman reveals that Roman was never truly in control. He was just a puppet who believed he was pulling the strings. This revelation should shatter Roman's confidence so completely that he can't even deliver his usual responses. The visual symbolism matters enormously. Roman should physically discard the elements that define his reign, the lei, the special ring attire, even his entrance music. But this can't be done in anger. It needs to be done in defeat, with Roman looking genuinely lost and uncertain about who he is without these props. The next phase involves Roman wrestling without any advantages. No interference, no psychological games, no shortcuts, just pure wrestling ability against opponents who have no reason to fear him anymore. He should lose these matches, not due to cheating or distraction, but because he's genuinely struggling to function without his previous crutches. These losses need to be shocking in their cleanliness. Roman gets pinned by mid-card wrestlers not because they got lucky, but because they outworked him. Commentary should express genuine surprise, not at the upset, but at how Roman seems unable to adapt to wrestling without advantages. The most crucial element is Roman's emotional journey during this period. He shouldn't become a traditional babyface seeking redemption. He should become a man genuinely confused about his identity. His promos should be shorter, more introspective, and filled with doubt rather than declarations. He questions whether he was ever as good as he believed, whether his family relationships were real, whether anything about his success was authentic. This vulnerability creates something Roman has never had: relatability. Audiences connect with characters who struggle with self-doubt because everyone has experienced those feelings. By stripping away Roman's superhuman confidence, WWE can finally make him human. The payoff comes not through winning championships, but through earning respect the hard way. Roman slowly climbs back up the card through pure effort, shaking hands with opponents, showing genuine emotion after both victories and defeats. When he finally challenges for a title again, it feels earned rather than inevitable. This reboot transforms Roman from a character who demands acknowledgement into one who earns it through growth, struggle, and authentic human emotion. Roman Reigns stands at a crossroads that will define not just his legacy but WWE's creative future. We've seen how his predictable dominance has trapped him in a character that no longer serves anyone, not Roman, not WWE, and certainly not the fans who deserve better storytelling. The part-time paradox has exposed the fundamental flaws in his current presentation, while the blueprint for his reboot offers a path toward genuine reinvention. This isn't about destroying Roman Reigns. It's about saving him from creative stagnation that threatens to waste one of wrestling's most talented performers. WWE has a rare opportunity to craft a once-in-a-generation narrative arc, one that shows what happens when dominance becomes a prison and how true strength comes from vulnerability and growth. The question isn't whether Roman needs a reboot, it's whether WWE has the courage to execute it. The Tribal Chief era is over. It's time for Roman Reigns to discover who he really is underneath the crown. What do you think? Is Roman Reigns' character beyond saving, or could a complete reboot actually work? Let me know in the comments below what you'd want to see in a rebooted Roman Reigns character. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into wrestling psychology, make sure you're subscribed because next week we're analyzing why WWE's current booking philosophy is failing their entire roster. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss it.